Howdy gang, Roy White at RW3 on Twitter here with another video on the channel. If you've been enjoying my videos thus far, I sincerely appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. If you're liking what you're seeing in your past videos, this video is going to be a prediction for how the Cowboys schedule in 2020 is going to play out, a game-by-game forecast as we go down the schedule now that it was released last night on the NFL Network. Now, if you've been following the channel before, then you would have already heard that the Cowboys had 5 primetime games. In a previous video I uploaded on Wednesday, I predicted all 5 of the Cowboys' primetime games this season. They are also the only team in the NFL to have 5 primetime games in each year for the last 15 years. No other team can make that claim. Obviously, the most watched team in the NFL, the most watched team in sports, is the Dallas Cowboys. One other note, besides the 5 primetime games, there'll be 2 games on CBS this year. All the rest will be on Fox. So the 2 games on CBS this year, Week 5 against the New York Giants, and Week 9 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. All the other games that aren't in primetime will be on Fox, so you can check that out and get your schedules right for the upcoming season. So let's get right into it, shall we? No surprise that the Cowboys were facing the Los Angeles Rams in Week 1. That game going to be played in LA in that brand new stadium. And as we know, the NFL likes to do everything they can to showcase a new stadium in its inaugural season. So this is a great way to do it. Bring the most popular team in the country out to face Los Angeles and potentially have maybe the one hyped up crowd that Los Angeles has all season long. They may not even be that hyped up for that one. I don't know. Either way, a season ago in 2019, Week 15, the Cowboys offensive line took their wild card loss from the season before personally against the Rams, divisional round loss, personally against the Rams. They fell to the Rams 2 seasons ago in the playoffs. Last year, they whooped them. The offensive line racked up 250 yards on the ground. Tony Pollard, his second coming out game, 131 yards on the ground, including a 44-yard touchdown run as the Cowboys dominated 44-21. Dak Prescott only had to throw the ball 23 times in that game. I don't know if that'll be the same score, but I do expect a similar result, giving the Cowboys a win to start off their season. Then they take on the Atlanta Falcons at home. Haven't faced Matt Ryan and the Falcons since 2018. That was a game that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys won. The Falcons were abysmal a season ago, although it's difficult to point the fingers as to why. Their defense was atrocious, and quite frankly, Matt Ryan wasn't playing to the level that Matt Ryan had played at in years past. I think the Cowboys will still take advantage of a little bit of the rust that still exists with the Atlanta Falcons, a hangover from 2019, if you want to call it that, but I just don't think they've improved enough to stick with the Cowboys. So that makes the Cowboys 2-0. After 2 weeks, then you got to go up north to face the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I know what you're thinking. Last time they played Seattle, they did beat them in the playoffs last year, a 24-22 victory over the Seattle Seahawks. And look, it was a big win. It was the type of win that gets the monkey off of your back when facing a team that you have lost to in each of your previous 3 matchups. But even still, Dak Prescott has yet to beat the Seahawks in the regular season. It'd be interesting to see if we get another matchup, an SEC matchup, between DK Metcalf and Trayvon Diggs, the Cowboys' new cornerback. They squared off in 2018 in a 62-7 Alabama rout of Ole Miss. The one score from Ole Miss in that game, though, a 75-yard touchdown on the first play of the game against Diggs' teammate, Savion Smith. After that, Saban moved Diggs to guard DK Metcalf, and what did he do the rest of the game? Just one catch for 17 yards. So that'll be an interesting matchup to keep an eye on. I do think, though, that the Cowboys will stumble on the road against the Seahawks and take their first loss. Then they welcome in the Cleveland Browns at home. Now, I get it. Every single year, people hype up the Browns, and every single year they underachieve. Typically by week 3 or 4, we already know the type of team that they are, but I just can't get away from the fact that they improved themselves so much this offseason. They added Jack Conklin, tackle, who they desperately needed to protect Baker Mayfield and give him some time. And then they added the tight end in Austin Hooper from the Falcons, who the Cowboys face in week 2. Austin Hooper comes over, joins Njoku. You team them up with Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, and Nick Chubb in the backfield. and that's a pretty formidable group of offensive weaponry. And on the defensive side, Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon, who Cowboys fans know, used to give Tyron Smith all sorts of trouble when they faced off twice a year when he was playing with the New York Giants. There's just something wonky about this game to me, and I think this may be one where the Cowboys stumble as well, and they find themselves 2-2 after the first 4 weeks. On to Week 5 against the New York Giants. Again, that game will be on CBS. Dak Prescott owns the Giants. The last 3 seasons, he swept them by an average score in those 6 games of 30-16. Dak Prescott loves facing the Giants. The Cowboys love facing the Giants over the last several seasons. And I haven't seen anything in New York that's done enough to bridge the gap between where I think the Cowboys are in 2020 and where I think the New York Giants are in 2020. Now, what do you say? Jason Garrett, he's going to share all of our secrets. What does he actually know? What does he actually have to share? Did we have any indication here in Dallas that if he got a hold of a piece of information that he could use to exploit against an opponent, that he would actually use it effectively? So come on, guys. Don't worry about Jason Garrett being with the Giants. That's going to be an easy win for the Cowboys as they move to 3-2. Arizona, Monday Night Football. I expect that game to be a high-scoring affair. The Cowboys, number 5 offense in 2019. The Arizona Cardinals didn't quite have that. They were ranked 17th in points per game, just over 22 points per game, but they added the best offensive weapon available this offseason. I'm talking, of course, about DeAndre Hopkins. Mentioned him in the video when we were talking about the primetime games that the Cowboys would be in. I think this will be a high-scoring affair. They also added Isaiah Simmons, the versatile linebacker, cornerback, money backer, specialty type player on the defensive side of the ball from the first round of this year's draft, but I don't think that's going to be enough to improve on a 27th ranked pass defense from a season ago. I think Dak will sling it all over the field. These two teams might combine to score 80 points between them, but I think the Cowboys pull out the victory. We're 4-2 heading into Week 7, taking on the Washington Redskins. Same story for Dak Prescott against the Washington Redskins virtually as it is against the Giants. In fact, it's even better. Dak is 7-1 against the Redskins in his career. And were it not for a fumble on his own goal line that was recovered by the Redskins defense for a touchdown, he might very well be 8-0. They haven't done enough to improve their offense this offseason. I do believe in Ron Rivera long term. I think he's going to be a problem for the Cowboys at some point. Chase Young, dynamic player they added in the draft, no question about it. He could bridge the gap slightly, but that gap is still considerable since the Cowboys beat them last year by a combined total of about 40 points in 2 games. I think the Cowboys easily roll against Washington, taking them to 5-2 against their first matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. On the road, Sunday night game, and that's what I think will play into Philadelphia's favor. The crowd will be fired up. The Eagles have shown in the past as a team they can get up for these big types of games. Prime time, everybody watching. They added a couple speedsters in the offseason in Jalen Reagor. They added a speedster in Jalen Reagor. They'll team him up with Deshaun Jackson, who will come back and presumably at least be healthy to start the season. Who knows where it goes from there. I just think these two teams are so close. They know each other so well that I give the slight edge to the home team in this one, especially playing under the lights. I think the Cowboys take a loss as they finish the first half of the season at 5-3. Then they welcome in the Pittsburgh Steelers to the AT&T Stadium. Another dangerous game. Ben Roethlisberger, in my estimation, in my opinion, has the skills to take that Steelers team back to the top of the AFC North. They could very well be the best team in that division, and it's not necessarily all because of him. Remember, they have 7 players on the defensive side of the ball that were drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. So they have tons of first-round talent and pedigree on that defensive side of the ball. Of course, Cowboys fans will all be talking about T.J. Watt during that game. He could cause a litany of problems for the Cowboys offensive line, but I think that's one they also take in the shorts headed to the bye week. Cowboys fall to 5-4 at this stage of the season, heading into the bye. Then they take on the Minnesota Vikings. Again, a team that took advantage of them in 2019. You look at the game log from their game a season ago. Vikings won 28-24. And if you look at the statistics, almost everything would tell you that the Cowboys outperformed them in that game. Dak Prescott threw for almost 400 yards. They only turned the ball over one time. Unfortunately, the Cowboys couldn't get the run game going. Zeke only had 47 yards. And the Vikings were able to get the run game going with Dalvin Cook, who had 183 total yards. He was a one-man wrecking crew for them, allowed them to control the clock. I think the Cowboys will take offense to the game that they played a season ago and will make sure Dalvin Cook does not hurt them this time around. Give me the Cowboys with the victory there. On to Washington in Week 12. I told you everything I need to tell you about Washington. They suck. Okay, easy win. Now, 7-5, heading 7-4. Excuse me, heading into the Thursday night game against Baltimore. This Thursday night game will be 1 week after the Thanksgiving game, where they will be on regular rest and looking good. Of course, they got to face the 2019 MVP in Lamar Jackson and company. I think he's just too unique of a weapon. The Cowboys won't have faced a quarterback like him all season. Maybe the only one you could possibly compare him to is Arizona's Kyler Murray, and even they don't utilize their quarterback's legs as much as the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson, who had nearly 20 carries a game last season for them under center. I think that'll be a problem for the Cowboys. And again, on the road, under the lights, I think that plays into the Ravens' favor. Cowboys take the L, fall to 7-5. They take on the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. This one, I think, could get so out of hand that maybe Andy Dalton finds a way to get one more curtain call in Cincinnati. The Cowboys up by 2 scores, couple minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Andy Dalton gets called upon to sling it around a little bit and gets one final standing ovation in Cincinnati. But again, that means that the Cowboys will have rolled to an easy victory. San Francisco, the final primetime game for the Cowboys, Sunday Night Football. And San Francisco's defense, I think it travels, man. It travels anywhere in the NFL. The front four that they have between Bosa, Eric Armstead, who they just re-signed. They drafted Javon Kinlaw, another beast, who a lot of draft folks think will have a big impact this season. The front four is as dangerous as any position group in the entire NFL, and I think it will cause a problem all night for the Cowboys. They have the offensive weaponry to at least stick with the Cowboys and score with them. I think San Francisco ultimately pulls that game out to drop the Cowboys to 8-6. 2 games to go. I believe, again, Week 16, the NFL knows what they're doing. They know what they're doing. That game will once again likely be for the division title as it was in 2019. Only this time, it's being played at AT&T Stadium. And that means, I think, this time, things go the Cowboys' way. They go their favor. Mike McCarthy sees what he did wrong in Week 8, corrects it in Week 16. The Cowboys move to 9-6. They clinch the division. And for good measure, get a win against the Giants, who probably aren't caring much about things at that point of the season. So, all in all, I have the Cowboys doing pretty well in 2020, finishing the season at 10-6. Again, a lot of games on here. A couple people are going to come after me for the Cleveland game, I'm sure. It's difficult. You got to pick a game at some point that you don't necessarily feel strongly that the Cowboys would lose, but that's the way football goes. So that's one of my games. I think Seattle's another one where I think the Cowboys are a better team, but Seattle may have the magic in Russell Wilson to be able to allow them to pull out a victory there. So hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter at RDub3 if you got opinions about the video, if you have opinions about how the Cowboys season is going to go. Other than that, thanks for checking it out, man. I really appreciate you sticking through this, and we'll get you another video coming up, hopefully tomorrow, on the Dallas Cowboys or something other than that. Man, we'll figure it out, right? Thanks for checking out the video. See ya.